Vanillaware's first game was Grand Knight's History, which was an RPG on the PSP and only released in Japan. The new game from ex-Vanillaware developers is called Grand Kingdom, which this time around has a worldwide release. This game is a tactical RPG with tons of depth and systems to master. This isn't a game that you will just jump right into from the get-go and know how everything works. It takes time, patience and experimentation, but the payoff is great. Grand Kingdom feels like an amalgamation of many games ranging from XCOM to Final Fantasy. I played the game on PS4, but it also comes on Vita and in my opinion works well on a portable device. For an RPG set in a world inspired by Japanese fantasy, you can pretty much expect plenty of interesting story building and intriguing characters. You play as the lead of a gang of mercenaries fighting through the kingdom trying to earn prestige. The main story has 12 chapters that will test your skill, preparation and planning. The kingdom has 4 nations, all fighting to gain most control. The moments of dialogue between characters is done in an interesting way, with speech bubbles and animated characters that have a hand-drawn feel to them. There's a lot to talk about here, so we'll start with the map and navigation part first. When you set out on a quest, you move a pawn across an animated map from a top-down perspective, which is actually a minigame within itself. As you make your way across the map, with a specific destination located, you come across many different scenarios and items. Chests are placed throughout and may have useful items that will aid you in battle. There are hidden paths and of course enemy encounters. You can even use various skills to jump over or evade various obstacles like traps. I've played this game for many hours and I still feel like I haven't tried out every ability and technique. This part of the game has a risk and reward element, as you have the option to take longer routes and hidden paths to gather more loot, but risk dangerous enemy encounters. The actual battles themselves are what feel like the main section of the game, but that would be a disfavour to the many other fantastic elements and sections of the game that feel like games within themselves. The battle system is familiar but feels fresh and manages to feel unique. The game may look simple with battles taking place from a side-on view, with your 4 mercenaries facing off against other enemies, but the mechanics here are deep, complex and tricky to master. The battle is turn-based, with each character having a certain amount of moves per turn and a specific attack and abilities to choose from. There's so much here to cover, so I'm going to talk about the main aspects as much as possible. Players are given complete freedom of movement, but this depletes stamina. Interestingly though, if you run out of moves, you can hit the touchpad and start over, which is a nice touch as it helps you plan out attacks. After the initial battle that introduces you to the basics, you then have to choose 4 mercenaries that will set out on quests, ranging from mages, warriors, witches, dragon riders and many others. You can customize each character from the appearance to starting stats. I personally tried out having 2 heavy hitters, a ranged fighter and a healer to start with. It's also important to note that your characters can die, and you can also build up a roster of fighters to choose from. If you select a good mix of fighters, the battles become very interesting, with archers firing from the back whilst hunters and rogues can get in close. There are 17 classes in all, and a random selection become available each time you check out the employment office. Placement of characters in battle and knowing what attacks you have at your disposal is critical to your success. There's also friendly fire, so you need to be aware when performing attacks that cover a wide area, as it may accidentally hit your team as well. This goes for the same as healing moves. The combat feels very satisfying, with challenging duels and tons of strategic planning involved. I didn't think that I would enjoy the game as much as I did, and I really enjoyed the wide variety of combat mechanics. The missions are also very interesting and have a varied style to each one of them, which keeps the gameplay fresh. The idea is simple really, because all you have to do is get from one side of the map to the other. As you progress and take part in more battles, your mercenaries begin to level up and you can put points into various character attributes, like strength or resistance, or types of attacks. I really enjoyed seeing my mercenaries become stronger, and it really gives you a great sense of satisfaction and achievement. Surprisingly, the game also has online multiplayer, despite the main game having a huge amount of content. War mode is an interesting mode where players battle in wars against nations. I really liked the idea, and it was interesting to see other players' setups when heading into battle. You pick a nation and are dropped into fights and attempt to claim the land. The addition of online multiplayer is great, but I hugely recommend playing the main game first and making sure you have a proper grasp of all the mechanics and systems, as there's a lot to learn. Having online multiplayer also gives the game endless replayability and reasons to go back for more. The presentation of the game is great and has a unique art style that's colourful, vibrant and full of personality. The character design is very impressive and they are genuinely interesting to listen to. The voice acting is done well and the game has a good sense of humour that flows throughout the campaign. The conversations play out in a 2D plane of view, having hand-drawn characters interact in front of painted backgrounds. The game also switches up styles when it moves from dialogue and battles to the exploration segments that have a top-down view as well as well-designed environments that you can explore. The soundtrack is great and I love the music at first, but it doesn't have much variety and it can feel repetitive after long play sessions. The music is upbeat and the tempo rises during battles, which adds to the tension. The sound effects are also well done and I feel like they have put a lot of effort into making the world feel immersive. Overall, I loved my time with Grand Kingdom, and I was surprised by how much depth there is to the game. The RPG mechanics feel rewarding and there's plenty to experiment with. It's a game that will take some time getting used to, but the reward for doing so is fantastic. The only minor issue I had with the game was the save system, which only saves after each mission, meaning if you fail during one of the enemy encounters you have to restart, and each mission can take up to sort of half an hour, 50 minutes. The game does a nice job of switching things up, whether you're exploring, in battle, or preparing for your next quest. I could have probably talked about this game for ages, and the mechanics involved, but its best way to really experience it is to play it for yourself, which I highly recommend. Thanks for watching guys, and please subscribe for the latest reviews and gameplay. See you next time.